Minnesota Vikings, Los Angeles Rams, Monday Night Football rematch from earlier on in the year and a rematch from our best upset pick earlier on in the year. Welcome to the full Monday Night Football breakdown, the sixth of six wildcard weekend games. I cannot wait. We've been red hot throughout wildcard weekend. You do not want to miss any of this stuff. So if you're new and you're not part of the family already, make sure you subscribe. If you watched either of the AFC or NFC breakdowns previously too, make sure you leave a like. Let me know what worked. Let me know what didn't work. But we're going to break this game down, honestly, pretty quickly too, because this is not super in-depth. It doesn't need to be super in-depth when you look at the past matchup as well as the overall coverage data and run scheme metrics. A couple players I'm looking at, don't want to overcomplicate it. Let's break this game down. Without further ado, we will talk about this game, but I want to make sure you guys know where to get all of my picks. Again, if you're new and you're not following on the socials, that's where the player picks will be. Everything is in the description. Instagram is player picks. Make sure you're following over there. X is live picks and touchdown scores. Make sure you're following over there. And if you want to follow on Pickett, if you use Pickett, make sure you do that as well. That is the place for my picks 24/7. As soon as I put them in, you can even turn notifications on and get them. Boom. I picked this. Okay, go get on it. You can copy it right then and there. Make sure you check that out. But we are going to break this game down with the assumption that it is going to be a moderately high-scoring game. And honestly, most of these picks you guys are going to make are probably going to hit, so you can get some bonus cash to make them with on Sleeper, Underdog, and Better Picks. Again, Sleeper is going to give you a free half-yard pick and 11 free entries if you join with code LEADS. That's also in the description. Underdog is going to give you a free half-yard pick as well as a deposit bonus up to $1,000. And Better Picks is going to give you a free half-completion pick up to $200 deposit matched if you use that code LEADS. Let's talk about this game, though. Data outliers here. Most important thing, you look at the Vikings defense. They're a lot better against the run than they are through the air. However, you can see this. In the last 5 games, they have given up the 8th most running back attempts and the 6th most running back yards. Now, when you go look at what the Rams do offensively, they're going to throw the football a lot more than they're going to run it, right? They are a pass-heavy team. You see above average in terms of overall pass attempts, in terms of overall pass yards per game at 240.9, 10th in the NFL. They're going to pass the ball more than they run it. Just interesting to note that the Rams haven't been running the ball super well all year long, but the Vikings haven't been great defensively against the run as of late. When you look at the run scheme metrics too, Minnesota 28th in yards per carry, meaning they're top 5 defensively, 29th in explosive run percentage. They're not giving up a lot of explosive runs. Now, they are worse against zone. It's noticeable too, but the Rams run more man gap than zone. So you don't really need to lean into that too much. The Rams' schematic differences in terms of run game don't pair well with the Vikings at all. And the Rams are dead last in explosive run percentage. So a lot of times when you look at teams that maybe have an edge on the ground, you want to look at explosive run or longest run. There really is nothing here that makes us think that. There's really nothing. Now, the pass data is what we do need to talk about, though. Obviously, most pass attempts, 4th most pass yards, most receiver receptions, and 2nd most wide receiver yards all year long. Recently, they still have not been great. They've been worse against receivers lately, too. Most receptions for receivers, 2nd most yards for wide receivers, and obviously the 10th most pass attempts and the 7th most pass yards. The Rams are going to want to throw the football. That's the reality of it. When you look at this past game, I'm going to pull up the box score for you guys. When you look at this past game, Rams-Vikings, I believe it was week 8, right? Week 8, Matt Stafford had an unbelievable game in this game, right? 279, 4 touchdowns. Obviously, he had the pick. Puka Nacua had 7 for 106. That is the difference in this game for the Rams. They're going to have an edge throwing the football. But when they throw the football, what are they going to get from the Minnesota Vikings? That will allow us to lean a certain way in terms of one player, one wide receiver I'm staring at when you look at their projections and yards and catches. Look at the Minnesota Vikings defense here, right? 6th most zone, most middle field open against zone. You look at the target percentage, how often they're being targeted, targets, receptions, and yards per out run. There's a bunch of kind of mixed in guys after the first player, Corum, Cup, Atwell, Higbee, Parkinson, Whittington, but look who leads every single one. Puka, 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 Puka. And when you go back and you look at that past game, it's very interesting, or very easy to see, that Puka Nacua was the guy, and nobody else even compared to what Puka Nacua could do offensively against that Vikings defense. Now, 7 for 106. Cooper Kupp was next with 5 for 51. But interesting, Demarcus Robinson caught multiple touchdowns. To be honest with you guys, I don't want to lean too much into that. I don't want to lean into a Demarcus Robinson touchdown like that. But I am interested very, very uniquely in Tyler Higbee. He's missed, the majority of the year, I believe it was 13, 14 games. But since coming back against zone, he is the 3rd highest target percentage on the Rams. He's played less games with Matthew Stafford, but again, you can look at this past production. Colby Parkinson only had 2 catches in this game. You don't really want to lean into his yards or his catches, especially when you look at his projections. I'll pull it up right now for you. But in terms of maybe sprinkling in a touchdown as a red zone threat, he scored already this year. Tyler Higbee could be a very interesting guy to look at, especially, again, considering that this game should be a moderately high-scoring game. When you look at Higbee's projections, it's 3 catches, 24 yards. Like, I don't love either of those. He hasn't had 24 yards, and he's only had it in 1 of 3 games. The previous 2 weeks, outside of the 5-catch, 46-yard performance, 2 catches for 9. Then his first game back, he only had 1 catch. That's excusable. But you don't want to lean too much into that. However, he has gotten in the end zone in 2 of 3 games. 2 of 3 games. You want to sprinkle something on a touchdown score? I like Tyler Higbee. Puka Nacua, though, is the guy for me, right? They're always going to be targeted on the outside. You look at the target rates for the Minnesota Vikings defense. 13th in the NFL, and the Rams are throwing out wide the 6th highest rate. Interesting pairing here, though. The highest target rate on the Minnesota Vikings defensively is that slot, right? They're being targeted at the 10th highest rate in the slot, where the Rams are throwing to the slot at the 8th highest rate. They're going to throw the ball to wide receivers. That's what the Rams do, and that's what the Vikings allow. So I want to get on Puka Nacua in really any way I can. But truthfully, guys, I don't hate Cooper Kupp in this game. He has been obviously a very interesting person to look at and make projections for all year long. He's been moderately inconsistent. But again, you look at the last 5 games, he's had 1 performance above 30 yards. 1 performance above 30 yards. But after that, 50 yards in every single game but the week 2 game against Arizona where he got hurt. He's only projected 47 this week. Truthfully, I don't hate it. I don't think I'm going to be on it like that. I'm going to be on Puka. Truthfully, what his yardage projection is, how much I'll be on it, that'll obviously be on my Instagram and on X, so make sure you're following on there. But Puka Nacua is the guy to be on in this game. And Matt Stafford is another guy to be on in this game because the Rams don't run the ball a ton. I don't think they're going to have a ton of success running the ball regardless against this Vikings defense. And Matt Stafford has been very, very good in big games, prime time. Obviously, he's in a dome. It's not a home game, but he's projected 238 passing yards. He's had 238 against pretty much every big defense he's played, right? 279 against Minnesota, big game. 298 against Seattle, big game. 293 against Miami, primetime, big game. 295 against New England, not a huge game, to be honest with you. 243 against Philly, big game. 320 against Buffalo. The only big game he did not, quote unquote, show up for was that weird rain sleet game at San Francisco. I'm taking that with a grain of salt, and I'm leaning into Matt Stafford, whatever it may be. If you want to pair something up on Sleeper, again, discounts, free projections, code leads below. Matt Stafford, maybe 200-plus yards, and Puka Nacua, maybe 5 or 6-plus catches. You should get good value on that, and you compare it with a couple other Vikings who we're going to talk about right now. When you look at the Rams defense, they also play a ton of zone, the 7th most zone in the NFL, and in the last 5 games, they're allowing the 3rd most pass attempts, 6th most pass yards, 3rd most tight end receptions, and 4th most tight end yards. Now, if you guys watched my Monday Night Football breakdown last week, TJ Hawkinson kind of let us down. He was targeted all game long, but truthfully, Alex Anzalone just shut him down, and I overlooked that. But TJ Hawkinson has another really, really nice edge in this game because of the target rates and because of his projections. His projection, to me, it's a little bit low right now. It's a little bit low. It's only 43 yards. I think that's a little bit low. He's hit it in 1, 2, 3, 4 of the last 7 games, and that's regardless of matchup. When you look at this matchup, the Rams are being targeted at the inline position at 3rd highest rate. Vikings are throwing there at the 5th highest rate. And you look at the target percentage in terms of zone, targets per game in zone, receptions a game against zone. He is top 3 in pretty much everything. Now, the only issue is yards per out run. He's not wildly explosive against zone. He's much more explosive against man. But TJ Hawkinson is a guy that I'm looking at to have a big game because of the production he's had against defenses like this. When you look at the game logs, the past game logs for TJ Hawkinson, his biggest games have come against zone-heavy teams that allow a substantial target rate to the inline tight end position. You look at the past games. The game against Chicago is really the one I want to look at here. TJ Hawkinson, Chicago right here, 7 for 114. That was a matchup of a zone-heavy team and a team that allows a lot of targets to the inline tight end position. Atlanta, not a ton of targets to the inline tight end position, but a zone-heavy team. Obviously 5 for 52 against Chicago again, and Green Bay, the other perfect example of this. Zone-heavy, 5 for 68. I love TJ Hawkinson. I think the matchup is very good. I think he's going to get plenty of opportunities, but again, we can't just discount the pass game. The pass game is really the biggest thing to notice with the Vikings offense, but offenses in general, because Justin Jefferson had 8 for 115 against this Rams team, and they're still being targeted at an average rate, I guess, on the outside, but that's where the Vikings are going to want to throw the football. They throw it there at the 8th highest rate, and if you look at the Rams, they're allowing a ton of pass yards. When you have a number one pass catcher, it doesn't really matter how it looks. He's going to get the football. They're going to find new ways to get him the ball. And God forbid, the Rams aren't going to play a ton of man, but if they ever got into a man situation, you know exactly where Sam Darnold is. And in terms of target percentage, Justin Jefferson is still the highest targeted pass catcher on the Minnesota Vikings. I know everybody looks at Justin Jefferson and this offense really entirely as an offense that's going to try to force feed this guy and let Sam Darnold do everything else in the red zone to other guys. Obviously, the production for Jefferson in the red zone has been down as of lately, but Sam Darnold's going to be able to throw the football all over the yard this game. And when you look at his projections, they seem a little bit low for me, especially because, again, the pass yards allowed by the Rams are high. The pass attempts allowed by the Rams are high, but the touchdowns is what I'm looking at. I think Sam Darnold could throw multiple touchdowns in this game pretty easily. He's had 2+ in 5 of the last 7 games. He's had 2+ in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of 17 as well. And last time they played the Rams, he had 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. His yardage projection is 267, which is a little bit high. I don't know if I want to get on it there. But in terms of multiple touchdowns, I don't think it's a crazy thing to lean into a guy like Sam Darnold in a high-scoring game where they're not going to have a ton of success running the football. When you look at the Rams, especially as of late, they've been very, very good on the ground. Now, overall, not great, right? Not great in terms of overall yards per carry, good in terms of explosive runs, and they're worse against zone, which the Vikings run much more of. But the Vikings are significantly less efficient when they run zone, and they're only 24th offensively in explosive run percentage. So I don't think it's going to be a wildly successful game for really either team on the ground. It's going to have to come through the air. When you look at the Vikings, you have guys like Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Sam Darnold. Those are the 3 guys I love. And then on the other side, Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, little sprinkle on a Tyler Higbee touchdown. And truthfully, guys, a little sprinkle on either of the Vikings backup tight ends for a touchdown, or Hawkinson if you want to do that too. But it's been a weird thing where Darnold looks at the backups in the end zone, the opportunities they get. But that is what we were on for this game. Obviously, the full picks will be on Instagram and X, so make sure you are following below. That is all the data you need. If you like this video, make sure you leave a thumbs up. Helps me out a ton, and it lets me know you enjoy this type of content. We'll continue to pump this content out for the playoffs, and as March Madness rolls around, NBA playoffs roll around, very similar styles of videos for you, for your brackets, and for your picks. Thank you guys again for watching. God bless you, and we will see you next time.